And then finally, we just ask that everyone respect each other and leave airtime because we have a lot of folks in the room. And we want to be able to hear from everybody. Next slide. Speaking of which, where are people joining from today? We've got folks from a lot of places. And again, thank you for sharing all kinds of time and day with us. So 40, actually, I think it's now over 40 cities. As of when I made the slide, it was 40 cities. Now it is more, but I think we're still at 6 countries. So welcome again, everyone. And next slide. So speaking of all of these folks, the participants here today are coming from a lot of different places, but also perspectives. And we ask that everybody keep that in mind as we move forward, because this is a collaborative process and we want to offer suggestions and tips, but we should acknowledge that people have a little different frames of reference. So, oh, Stephen, could you mute yourself, please? So thinking about that, reflecting on the wide variety of perspectives that are being brought to the table, I will hand it over to Nikyta Palmazani from Lopez Remakery to frame the gathering for us. Nikyta.
Thank you so much. I feel so honored to be here with all of you from all over the world. I had no idea we would even have international folks. So thank you so much, Cami and Xenia, for everything that you've done to organize this. And just a warm welcome. In our planning, we were talking about this as being called the Repair Economy Summit. And some people said, you know, well, what's this word economy? And it does relate to how finance and how business moves, but it also relates, you know, an economy of something is also can be a savings, can be to have, you know, this economy of movement, or to have economy, which is a reduction in waste, right? A reduction in that which isn't needed. And so I really just want to bring in that concept to our conversation, because I think that there really is such an economy and a reduction in waste that we're up to. Well, it's amazing to see the confluence. Everybody knows that word, right? It's a bunch of little, like the image is a bunch of little rivers that form a bigger river, and where they meet is the confluence. And I feel like that is what we are exactly in this moment. We're in a virtual confluence of all of you incredible people with all the skills and the resources that you bring coming together. And so one of the reasons that Cami asked me to speak this morning was because I'm on Lopez Island, which is a very small island in the San Juans. We're far north Washington, just about as close as you can get to Canada before you're actually in Canadian waters, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the San Juan Islands. And we are a very small rural island. We have about maybe 4,000 full-time residents. And because of that, we have quite an economy of things that happens here. We have a community-run transfer station with a giant free store where people donate objects for free and people take objects for free. We have citizen separated recycling and a community-run transfer station. Out of that ballooned where I am now, which is the Remakery. And the Remakery is a makerspace dedicated to recycling and reusing materials locally. We also do repair cafes, and we haven't gotten there yet, but we have been many years in our tool lending library and zero waste events cabinet library, which we'll get to soon. And so the Remakery is this confluence of a lot of things that happen all in one place. And so because we are so small, we have this, this real focused concentration of our zero waste efforts all being done in one place. And so I just wanted to name that because sometimes it can feel like the maker spaces are way over there when you're in a big municipality or city, and the repair cafes are way over here, and the tool lending libraries are somewhere else. And sometimes we forget that we're all part of this confluence of the reuse and repair economy that brought us all together for this summit. So I just wanted to name that and how each one of us are coming together in some way to help reduce waste. We see that all the time here. I have two of our expert makers who are in attendance on this Zoom. Tracy Cottingham is an incredible textile fashion industry expert. For 40 years, she has been a global player, and she's been part of Patagonia's Repair Cafe. They have a little tiny house that they bring around and repair Patagonia textiles, and Tracy has been part of that. And that importance of repair and reuse. We also have our self-proclaimed IT guy, Andrew Nichols, who does a lot of our electronics repair, who's here on the Zoom and here with me in the Remakery in the other room, and Brian Silverstein, who's part of our repair and also helps teach in our electronics and empowering people in our makerspace. And I just want to name that all of us are those people. Like, I don't know who all of you are yet, but I know that there is an incredible wealth of expertise that is being brought often for free, right? Most of us are volunteers. We're offering this incredible surplus of skills and resources to help reduce waste and to help make our world a better place, to help repair things so that they can stay in people's homes, right? I love the referring to them as people's belongings. They belong to you. They belong in your home. And when our repair cafes happen, we can help repair those belongings so that they stay in people's homes and out of landfill, and not, or also not needing to purchase a new thing. And I recently spoke to our middle school and high school of about 125 kids on Lopez. And I was talking to them about the global supply chain. And I was explaining how recycle markets work with backhauling. So if you're unfamiliar with that concept, the idea is, you have for instance, a shipping container that comes in on a freight, and many things that come in on shipping containers, right? And those goods are offloaded, but then often that shipping container will go back empty. So the idea is you put recyclables or textiles or all different kinds of things back into those containers, which would go back empty, and they go back to the country of origin. And that's called backhauling. And that's how a lot of our global interchange of recycled materials works. What I was explaining to the kids is, what happens when that breaks? What happens when we get an ever given in the Suez Canal that blocks the Suez Canal? What happens when COVID-19 happens and breaks in the supply chain, which we hear about all the time, right? We're seeing this more and more and more. And what happens when that goes on? How are we preparing for that? And so I just wanted to name that the efforts that all of us are up to are helping create more resilient systems locally, right? We're helping localize resilience, and also, I would say, even regenerative practices that help us repair what has been broken by a real waste-driven consumerist society in a lot of ways, right? If something breaks, just throw it away and buy a new one. But I just want to acknowledge that each one of us is part of that reduction in waste, that zero waste focus, right? Whether it's repairing something, whether it is making something locally, like in our maker spaces, where instead of having to purchase an item, if you can make it locally, you have stopped that whole need for a global interchange of manufacturing and production and packaging and shipping. And you've gotten it now just right when you needed it, that single object, and you've decreased all the emissions even from ordering it, right, and needing to have it delivered to your house. And so that is a huge reduction in emissions. So being able to make things locally. And then of course, the tool lending libraries, right, our share-based economy. If you only need a tool once a year, isn't it nice that you can go somewhere and borrow it when you need it and not have to store it, not have to ship it, not have to purchase it, not have to maintain it? But that share-based economy that helps reduce so much redundancy. And here on Lopez, that's such a big conversation because space is a prime issue here. And so storage and space, when we can share objects as opposed to every single one of us have to have them, it's a huge value. So in that same conversation with the high schoolers, there was also, I showed a video from Dale Doherty. Any of you know Dale Doherty yet? If you don't, some nods, yes, some nods. So he started the Maker Fairs, and so the global flagship Maker Fair in the Bay Area. And he talks about how all of us are makers, but we've been convinced that we should just be good consumers. We should just be good shoppers. And in this particular video, which was one from 2012, he talked about how it used to really be a very noble and very respected part of our culture. Like in the 60s, if you could repair your car, if you could repair your items, that was something that you passed on with your kids. It was something brag worthy. It was something that not only saved you that economy of money, but it also was something that was really respected. And so I am so happy to be in this conversation with all of you today, where I feel like we are regenerating those values of repair, of share, of eliminating waste and reducing waste, and helping be in a share-based economy in this conversation, because so many of us are sharing our expertise, our skills, what happens in our unique communities with other communities. I know Tracy even has conversations, questions that she's like, let's find out about these things as we're asking everybody. And so that ability to share for free all of our expertise is so important in creating these resilient systems. So for any of you who are really concerned about our planet in crisis and the climate emergency, creating these resilient local systems is one of the key ways that we are helping create stronger, better, more resilient, more compassionate, more share-based local nodes, right, all over the world. So all of us are contributing to that better world. So thank you so much for your attention. I'd love to hand it back over to Cami and Xenia. Thank you so much. Oh, also, if you're interested in hearing more about the Remakery, I'll be presenting during the breakout session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nikyta. Now we're going to hand it over to Shannon of Northeast Seattle Tool Library to moderate our next session. Shannon, you're up.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you, Nikyta, for that wonderful opening. When you mentioned kind of the contrast between having a tool library on Lopez Island compared to Seattle, I could really relate to that. Here in Seattle, we have over 5 libraries. It's growing all the time. And the summit for the first time 3 years ago was really the first time I got to meaningfully interact with other tool libraries. So I think that idea of confluence coming together, we've all made these little nodes. Now let's all come together is so important. So today we have 4 speakers. So we'll just get right into it. Each is going to have 5 minutes. At 7 minutes, I might politely time check you just so we can keep on track. So we'll just, oh, and this is our silver linings session. So we're going to share some of the things that went right and we want to share and just kick it off, in a hard year, some of the silver linings. So to start us off, we have Tara Heilman, facilitates the Columbia Springs Repair Clark County program. So I'll pass it over to you, Tara.
Great, thank you so much. And just a disclaimer, I haven't actually seen my slides yet. So you guys are gonna see my slides as I do. I had a very busy week and Xenia and Cami were kind enough to just let me throw some photos at them. So yeah, so I run the Repair Clark County program. This is Clark County, Washington. So I'm in Vancouver, Washington. We're right across the river from Portland. And so not to be confused with Clark County, Nevada, which I also have a connection to. So I just wanted to quickly go through a few of our programs and some of our successes. And I'm not gonna talk too much, but I'm gonna plant some dream seeds. I just heard that term recently. And if any of you have more questions for me or want to know more about how we did what we did, I am happy to connect with you afterwards or during today if we can find some time. So one of the very first things we did when the pandemic hit, I happened to be reading Reddit and I stumbled across this article about how there was a hospital in if we can just kind of go back a little bit, I know none of us want to go back to 2020, but go back a little bit to what that was like. There was so much uncertainty and I think hopelessness, and people were really feeling at a loss. Like, how do I help? What do I do? What's safe? All of these questions. But anyway, so I stumbled across this article that was about a hospital, I think in Indiana, had put out a call to their local community saying, hey, if anybody knows how to sew, and I definitely know people who know how to sew. And so I put out a call to our sewists, and then our local paper picked it up. I put out a press release saying, we're going to be sewing masks. And so we sewed over 1,800 masks. And then I don't know, we'll say, I know a month in or 2 months in, I was very connected to all these kind of COVID PPE, makers, different groups and things like that. And then the mask straps came along as well. And so the mask straps were 3D printed. So our local library got involved. And then we also had some fixers that just had 3D printers themselves. And so we printed over 4,000 mask straps as well. So that was, like I said, that was, it was very satisfying, very fulfilling. And it also, I've heard from many of the fixers who participated that they just were so grateful to have something that made them feel like they were contributing and helping in this incredibly scary time and unknown. And then, so actually, can you go back just a second? I'm sorry. How long have I been talking? I have no idea.
2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect. Because I think I just have one more slide after this. So the other thing that we've done is, and this actually, so Rewrap actually preceded the mask project. And so Rewrap is, the ideal version of Rewrap is that you would bring us grandma's stained Christmas tablecloth. And, no one has gotten rid of it because they can't bring themselves to, but no one's using it because it's stained or it has a rip or whatever. And so the idea was we would break down that textile, right? We would cut it down into smaller pieces and we would sew reusable gift wrapping bags. And so we did this, we've done it 4 years now. And, we made 150 bags the first year and gave them all away. And then we made 600 bags the next year. And we were giving these away at holiday bazaars. And then, of course, because of COVID, we couldn't be there. And so last year we had reached out back to our mask partners and said, hey, we have all these bags. Does anybody need them? And so Meals on Wheels said, yeah, we'll take everything you got. And I said, well, are you sure? Because we made 600. They said, well, we need 1,000. And I said, well, I have no idea if we can make it to 1,000, but we did. And so this is just some pictures of some of the bags and then some of the seniors who got goodie bags from their Meals on Wheels delivery people. Okay, go ahead into the next slide. And then this is another, so on the left-hand side here, you're seeing a dream seed sprouting for me, finally. This has been a dream for me for, I don't know, a decade. I've always wanted to do this upcycling into lamps. And so this year we were able to do it. We made 13 lamps. You see some of them here. And there's a vintage toaster on the top there and a vintage blender. And then that was actually a heater, and then it was turned into a camp lamp. And so we had 13 lamps. They all sold. It was a fundraiser. It was amazing. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is Repair Goes Remote. And so Repair Goes Remote has allowed us to keep fixing. Basically, we're not doing any kind of, the closest we've come to having an in-person event is sharpening only events. And in fact, I actually just did one yesterday. We probably sharpened, 60 or 70 items yesterday. And well, I didn't do it. Actually, I did sharpen something yesterday. But anyway, and so what we're doing is you would register your item with us, you would drop it off, we barcode it. And then the fixers come to me, they pick up the stuff from our warehouse, they take it home, they fix it in their own space at their own pace, and then return it to me, and then we return it back to the clients. So I'm gonna stop there. I have no idea how long I talked. Hopefully it was less than 5 minutes. And like I said, please do reach out to me if you wanna know more.
Perfect. You were right on time. That was wonderful. And yeah, thanks for sharing all of that. That's fun. I never thought of making gift wrap out of sentimental fabrics or fabrics that you don't want to throw away, but need a second use. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And at the end, we're going to be going this session till about 11:20. So just if you have any questions or anything, note them down or throw them in the chat. And then after all 4 speakers have gone, we'll try to address some of those. So next up, we have Peter Mui, who is the founder of the Fix It Clinic. So Peter, I will pass it over to you.
A lot of you already know me, so I'm not gonna, I'll just go right to the jugular on this one, which is basically, I did my best to make lemonade out of the lemon of the pandemic. And I'm pretty proud of what we've done. I mean, I've basically created this resource for you and all your communities, and for communities who could maybe never be big enough or never get the critical mass to support a local repair initiative. So during the pandemic, Fix It Clinic basically added global resources for both repairers and people who need stuff repaired. So we added the global Fix It server on Discord, which is 24/7 around the clock, around the world repair. And what that's right now doing, it's turning into a resource for repairers. So it's a little bit of a stretch for people who have something broken to bring it there. But for repairers who have a stumper, that's a place to bring that stumper and to also fraternize with other repairers around the world. By using Discord, what I've also been able to do is basically extend, our audience has typically been older people, and Discord is a gaming platform. So all of a sudden, we've got this younger teen audience that's on board. It's also allowed me to expand the programming to high schools. So a bunch of high schoolers, I don't know what's true in your area, but in California, there's an effort to create, the high schoolers, before they graduate, they have to do community service. They have to do hours of community service. And what they're doing is they're using repair as their community service hours, which is great. Got a bunch of programs doing that. Okay, in addition to that, what we were able to do is basically go global. So the Zoom Fix It clinics, the effort here is to create the greatest show on Zoom. And that's really for you guys. It's really oriented towards Fix It coaches, okay? I'm really trying to create the best, absolutely the best programming. I think of it as Mythbusters meets Antiques Roadshow. Can we fix it? What will we see? And it's just been absolutely positively amazing. So I'll just run through, Australia, Palestine, Scotland, France, the UK, Belmont, Massachusetts, Berkeley, California, and northern New Mexico. So some of these are rural areas where they don't have a local repair initiative of any sort. But also during the pandemic, there was a sense that people couldn't get out and get stuff done. I mean, so like what we also launched during the pandemic through this was rapid response repair. And it started because we were really concerned about the national stockpile of ventilators and this idea that at that time, we didn't even know if the med techs were going to be available to help repair that stuff. So we stepped up and said, we'll help to figure out how to make that happen. Luckily, we didn't have to do it, but what we ended up fixing were a lot of coronavirus mask sewing machines as people started putting those together. But we're also open, like we fixed things that were anything that made basically a first responder or critical care worker's life easier. So it could be the coffee maker in the break room at the hospital. It could be the floor polisher for the canteen at the hospital. We didn't care. And we were happy to take all that stuff on and do that. So that's an expansion that we've done, that beyond repairing people's individual items, we're willing to look at our shared community assets and our public property as well. So for example, here in Berkeley, they had some very expensive pop-up canopies that got shredded and broken in a windstorm. And they were going to throw them out. And I said, no, we can fix those for you. And so we're looking for more and more opportunities to do that. And then that begs what our first speaker mentioned about the idea of additional public procurement issues. Basically, we are working on right to repair on one side, but at the same time, in parallel with that, I'm working on this idea of how do we get all of our institutional purchasing, whether it's corporate or government, to basically ask the question at the time that they're asking for the request for quote or request for proposal. How do we ask them to basically ask the vendor to provide with the product repair parts, diagnostic tools, and service manuals so that we can do that repair locally rather than throw it away or send it back or send it someplace remote to have it repaired. So, you can take my word for this, that this stuff is great, but you don't have to, because next Saturday we're having our global holiday Zoom out of Lund, Sweden. So Repair Cafe Lund and Repair Cafe Malmo are hosting, and it's part of St. Lucia Day celebration in Sweden. So there's a global celebration, Fix Fest for all repairers globally, and you're all invited to attend that. And with that, I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter. That was great. At the Northeast Seattle Tool Library, we try to upskill more fixers. So that's great to know about that resource. We'll definitely be checking that out on our end. Great. Okay, we have our third speaker coming up. And I believe last two don't have slides, so we'll just get their lovely faces. So we have Lauren Gross, who is the founder, education and outreach coordinator, and community organizer for Repair PDX, which is Portland, Oregon. So Lauren, I'll pass it over to you.
Yay, thank you. Hi, everyone. I am really excited to be in this conference, and I'm really excited to be on this panel. I was just noticing how many connections we all have already. Like Repair PDX, we started it in June of 2013. And before, when I was first researching it, had a conversation with Peter just to kind of do some research before we started anything. And Tara was a part of our first repair cafes, and Alicia's here and has been very instrumental in past projects, repair cafes, and also current one and future ones. And Kate is part of my helping with voucher stuff, and Jim Carlisle is one of our volunteers and also has been doing Peter's Global Fix-It stuff too. I've seen him there. So it just feels like in the beginning, Nikyta was talking about like the resilience. And for us, it's very, like all of this is creating like mycelium of, connections that we can strengthen with each other. And that's really exciting. And I would say that for Repair PDX, that's one of the things that I work on and come from a place, my values are to create community and generate partnerships. And so a lot of the things that we've done since 2013, when we started, was partnering with different venues in town to do repair cafes, trying to make connections for education, trying to make connections with schools. Just to kind of give you a framework of what we're up to now, because of the pandemic, we had so many things planning and in place. We had a couple of grants that I had gotten for repair education and also to do repair vouchers, which I can talk about in a little bit. And then there were so many things that we were going to start, and then the pandemic hit and everything went on pause. And then since that time, just like a lot of you all probably have had to pivot, is the word for 2020 and 2021. We're still doing repair cafes. We're still doing repair education, and we're working on a repair voucher project. The silver linings for the repair cafes was a partnership with an alternative learning community in Portland that let us use their space, and we could do it outdoors. So we've done 3 repair cafes, and it was very stressful because we were not sure how things were spreading. We weren't sure. We wanted to make sure that we were creating a safe space, but you can never really create a total safe space. You have to just do your best. And so, we organized repair cafes outside and had at least 100 people each time, which told us that there's obviously still a need. And then the repair education things that we've been doing, Alicia, who's in this conference, works for the city of Portland, and we've been partnering with the city for about 7 years now to do fix-it fairs, and their fix-it fairs have gone online. So that allowed us the opportunity to do some online skill shares, and we did zipper repair and how to hem your pants, and we're continuing that partnership into this winter and next spring, and hopefully it'll just still be like a regular thing. And we're doing we're doing in-person education classes at another spot in Portland called the Rebuilding Center. And we've just formalized that partnership. We've done a couple of lamp repair workshops, and we're going to do some more in the coming year. We have established a partnership with PAIR in Portland, which is they work with young people that are transitioning out of homelessness. And we have a woman or a person who is doing sewing repair with them and doing projects. And the beautiful thing about sewing is like the mending skills are the same as the making skills. And so a lot of it is like tapping into their creativity and wanting to do projects, and then at the same time planting seeds about repair and helping them fix their items, but then also them fixing it themselves at the same time. And then we also have, in the other partnership that we have for education is with, it's called St. John's Swap and Play in North Portland. And we've done our first ever Tinker event with them. So we had some kiddos who just put out a tarp and got some tools from Harbor Freight and just let the kids go at it. And a lot of this has been a lot of learning. I remember I forgot how non-linear kids are. And so it's just like, give them a screwdriver, and then they like go play there for a second. And then, you know, oh, what's that? What's inside that coffee maker? So there's a lot of things that are, that we've just had to try, and there's a lot of learning, and there's a lot of really exciting things that are happening because of it, both in person and online. And then the other thing that we're trying out, which I can also talk a little bit later about too, is the voucher project. So we got a grant from Oregon DEQ and have decided to, got about $10,000 to give vouchers for repair. So the idea is to help pay for repairs that people couldn't necessarily, it's a barrier to pay for their item because it's cheaper to buy new things, and then also put money into repair businesses to help elevate the repair economy in Portland. And Alicia has been instrumental in part of it in helping put something into the Chinook book. And we just got our first redeemed voucher yesterday. So we're looking to see how this project is gonna turn out. Feels like
awesome. Yeah, that's just on time. Thank you so much. The comment of with sewing, the mending skills are the same as making. That's a really awesome point that stuck in my head. That right there. Awesome, cool. And we have a little under 15 minutes left, so perfect for our final speaker, and then a little bit of time for questions. So with that, I'll reintroduce you back to Nikyta Palmazani to talk about the remakery on Lopez Island.
Thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen as well. Oh, no, maybe not. That's okay. Hi. So, silver linings. Yes. COVID has really allowed us to bloom into form, because in January, I got an email that came through from the Department of Ecology saying, hey, you know, due to COVID, we have a huge amount of money that needs to be spent by June 30th. Who could write a 250-word proposal as to why you need, I don't know, up to $50,000? And I was like, me, pick me, let's do this. So, I've had a makerspace and a repair cafe in mind for the 7 years that I've worked for Lopez Solid Waste Disposal District. And so I wrote that one page saying, we'd love to start a remakery. We'd love to be able to reuse all of our recycled materials and an incredible, huge surplus of donation items, remake them into things to increase our circular economy, build repair cafes, and help build that out. So I'm just going to share just a tiny bit about what we did with that money in 5 months, which was a quick turnaround. So I'm just going to share my screen really briefly with you. And so we started our once a month repair cafes. That's been a big part. I'll talk more about that later, but it has been really popular. And the nice thing also about our repair cafes is that thanks to Lopez Solid Waste, I have been learning Spanish. And so now been able to translate things. And we found that that was a huge in for how do we provide for more equity in our community and more social justice in our community, and having language barriers not be something that prevents people from having to, to come and to get things repaired or to learn skills has been great. So having bilingual flyers and advertisement for our repair cafes has now built a nice bridge to our Spanish-speaking community, which is pretty robust here on Lopez Island. And so it's been really nice to have that. And as a matter of fact, the slide there on your right is a beautiful story that Andrew, who's here on the Zoom with me and actually in the remakery in the other room, tells, which is my Spanish teacher, who is a beautiful man from Argentina. He and his family moved here. He came and wanted his laptop fixed. And Andrew said, hey, that's a $10 part. Go buy it and bring it back to our repair cafe. And so last month he did, and his 9-year-old son, Juan, Andrew was able to empower Juan to say, hey, Juan, you fix it. Let's teach you how to do that. And so they took that part, repaired that very computer that you're looking at, and it's now in service in their household. So that has been just such a huge, beautiful learning. And we got to start the Remakery. So with that $50,000 startup funds, that gave us the ability to purchase machines and tools. We have the literal only space that was available for rent on Lopez Island, being an extremely small space, was 2 adjacent offices that are in a retail space. So we are here in this Lopez Village Plaza. We have the bakery and the coffee shop and the bookshop and an art gallery right next to us, and we are behind them in a retail space. So what we consider this is a makerspace light, right? So we're not 3-phase power, we're not getting dirty, we're not industrially zoned. So we had to do everything on a smaller scale, which is a great first step, really, especially to try to get up and running we did it in 60 days. We could have done it in 30. It was pretty amazing how quickly we were able to pivot and build this out. So what you're looking at here is the space that we call Spark. And if you'll look at the very back wall, those are all vinyl record album covers because it was a pressboard wall. So how do we reuse stuff and make it more fun? We have a ton of vinyl records at our free store, which we call the Take It or Leave It. A lot of them like the Singing Nun or Singin' to 1986 that just don't get as much play as you'd think. They really don't have a big market on eBay. So it was a real nice reuse to have kind of a fun decorative thing. That's where we have, we purchased a Glowforge, a laser cutter, which has been really fantastic. It's, desktop, and its proprietary software has made it really user-friendly for our populations of people. And we've been doing quite a lot of 3D printing. Also working with haven't gotten to our microcontroller class yet, but Brian Silverstein, who's here, he and his colleague, Dave Saylor, are on that, and our kids are really excited about it. That's also where we do store all our tools for our tool cafe, and we have 2 maker in residence workspaces. And so we've done, every 4 weeks, we have 2 makers in residence, and they have unlimited access to the Remakery, and limited access to the Recycle Plaza and the Free Store. And they offer classes or workshops, and then an exhibition at the end of that 4 weeks, which helps educate our populace. It helps keep zero waste in a really fun and engaged way. And because we're in this big retail space, I can actually show you because I'm here, you can see that I have a giant window behind me. And there's another giant window that is right in front of those maker workspaces. And so it really helps people to get a view of what are our makers working on? What are our repair folks working on? And then we can also sell things. So our other space we call Fiber, and Fiber is dedicated to textiles. Pre-COVID, we were shipping out 1,000 pounds a week of textiles, 50,000 pounds a year of textiles were going out into recycling. And that's not even what all of our community has taken at our free store, which is we pre-COVID were taking in 4,000 pounds of new donations weekly, every week. People are giving us homewares and tools and clothing and bedding and furniture items and toys. Basically anything you could think of that could come out of a household goes into our free store, which is about a 3,000 square foot space. And then our volunteers sort it for free, and then our community can come and take it for free. But it turns out we don't have enough takers for all the stuff. And so the stuff, a lot of it goes into diversion streams like recycling and mixed paper with like books, and then our metal recycling and our e-cycle. But there's still, with global supply chains, it's a real issue. So we thought, how do we really focus on textiles so we can turn them around? Because they were some of the biggest bulk, so much of the volume that we are trying to get off of our island. And if you track a global supply chain, a lot of textiles are going like all the way to Chile from Seattle just to get sorted. They get sorted in Chile, and then they go to the Ukraine, then they go to African countries, then they go to South American or Central American countries. It's just an astonishing amount of emissions that happens in this global transport to deal with used textiles. So we really wanted to turn things around locally. So we've got sewing machines, we've got sergers, we've got heavy duty sewing machines, and Tracy Cottingham, who's here on our call, is and she is pictured actually in the bottom right photo. She's an absolutely prolific teacher. and profound teacher. And so she teaches sewing machine basics, serger basics, and then helps empower not just our makers, but also our repairers. And she's constantly educating people and engaging them. Come on in, we're going to teach you how to use your sewing machine. It's been sitting in your closet because you didn't know how to wind your bobbin, or you didn't know how to or you didn't know how to do this simple thing. And so that's been wildly empowering. And we're so grateful, Tracy, for your work. We also have hand tools, leatherworking, jewelry making, so lots of things that are more analog on this side that we call fiber. And then working to remake the world into a better place. So we offer classes and workshops, we offer one-on-one instruction, we offer drop-in maker times, and all that has been a silver lining for COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, the Remakery would not exist. And it has been a real pivot. It was a big surprise to our board. It was a big surprise to our nonprofit that this happened so quickly. And so now, even though it's been such a blessing to have, we're working through a lot of the logistics that come with kind of a rapid new thing that just bloomed on our island. It's like, how do we manage it? How do we cover it? There's a lot of questions that that still need to be answered in how does this have long-term sustainability? But we are so grateful that COVID happened and that funding happened, and wildly grateful to the Department of Ecology for that grant that helped empower us. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Remakery again, we'll be there later.
Nice. Yeah, I'm like, I need to start planning a trip up to Lopez Island. This looks great.
Come on
I want
over.
to check it out. Perfect. Well, we have just 5 minutes left. There are kind of some times later where there'll be more freeform interacting. I wanted to check in with Tori, our chat moderator, to see if there was any questions in there. And if so, I'll do that first, and then if not, maybe we could open it up to a question or comment from the group before we move on.
Yeah, no questions yet. People have just been sharing links, which I've been trying to capture too on the Jamboard, but no questions yet.
Okay, great. With just a few minutes, does anyone want to ask a question or make a comment based on that session? Okay, maybe just first round of applause. Woo, thank you. That was really great.
It was like Heather Trim has a question about the voucher program and how it will work. I don't know, Heather, is that for Lauren or for?
Yes, that's for Lauren. That's
there you go.
Totally. We're going to do a voucher program. We have money to do a voucher program in Washington State. So we want to learn what you're doing. What types of repairs are you doing? How much are you making the vouchers for? What is the geographic spread?
Yeah, so we, it's kind of like a little pilot within a pilot. So we've selected 2 businesses to try this out with, JD Shoe Repair and Hidden Opulence. JD has been a partner for a long time and repairs shoes in North Portland. And Hidden Opulence is a sewing and alteration. And the plan is to go at it through a lot of different ways, partly just to connect with different communities, and partly to try out different things and just understand how things work. So we're going to try it out through the Alicia and Resourceful PDX gave us an opportunity to try one aspect out through the Chinook book. But that only reaches a certain population. That reaches the people who are willing to buy a Chinook book. So we're also going to reach partnering with the organization called Environmental Promoters, and they focus on multifamily housing. So we're potentially going to have them help us reach communities where folks could use the vouchers. And then so that the plan for that, the pilot within the pilot, is going to happen in winter and spring 2022. And then once we get the learning from that, either continue with those businesses or try to reach out to more businesses, and still trying to work out like what's the best way to get vouchers to folks. If it's like a physical one, if it's a QR code. We're very much in the space of just trying to figure out how this is. There's nothing really totally defined. It's just kind of like, this is what our best guesses are right now, and then we'll try it out and then see what works from there.
Awesome, thank you. Any other final questions or comments on this session? Cool. And with that, maybe Cami and Denny just want to explain. It looks like next we might have a little socializing breakout and break. So I'll pass it to you guys. And then maybe in that socializing breakout, if anyone has specific questions, you could find it.
Thank you, everyone. And yes, as Shannon was saying, we're going to go into socializing breakouts now. So no specific agenda here, just share your name and where you are. And then once everybody's done that, maybe go back through around and share anything that's come up over the past year that was an unexpected success or your own silver lining. So these are going to be about 15 minutes. And then after that, we will go into a quick coffee break for about 5 minutes before we return for the more formal breakout rooms. So see you in a bit. Oh,
yeah, breakout rooms will be automatically assigned. There will be 5 to 6 people in your room. And I will post the chat, the questions in the chat. Have fun. Hi, Kate and Andrew. I will have to leave you because I'll continue running my technical things. So have fun, nice meeting you.